हेलो। हेलो, आवाज आ रही है? हेलो। So this is the last topic of the syllabus. चैप्टर का नाम है बायोडाइवर्सिटी कंजर्वेशन एंड एनवायरमेंटल इश्यूज। इसके अंदर ये वाला सेक्शन मैंने ऑलरेडी पढ़ा है नीट में। ये है एनवायरमेंटल इश्यूज। ये बहुत बड़ा दिया हुआ है आपके टेक्स्ट बुक में, बट इससे कोई पूरा चीज पढ़ के मतलब है नहीं, क्योंकि पूरे सेक्शन से एक या दो आएगा, वो हम देखते हैं। वी आर लर्निंग डाइवर्सिटी। यू नो डाइवर्सिटी इज वैरायटी। डाइवर्सिटी का मतलब होता है वैरायटी ऑफ लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स। इसके अंदर सबसे पहले आपको पता होना चाहिए डेफिनेशन ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी। सो इट इज द पार्ट ऑफ नेचर which includes the differences in the gene among the individuals of us, right? मतलब बायोडाइवर्सिटी का मतलब क्या है? इट इज द differences in genes among the individuals of a species, the variety and richness of all plants and animal species at different scales in a space, that is local regions, country, and the world, and the type of ecosystem, both terrestrial and aquatic, within the defined area. The term biodiversity was actually coined by Walter Lawson, but the term was popularized by ecologist Edward Wilson। ये नीट का लास्ट ईयर क्वेश्चन था। To describe combined diversity, so how he defined the biodiversity? He described combined diversity at all levels of biological organization is known as biodiversity. Biodiversity we see today is the outcome of over 3.9 of years of evolutionary history। धरती पे 3.5 बिलियन ईयर्स इवोल्यूशन की वजह से जो भी स्पीशीज आज डेवलप हुए हैं, वो बायोडाइवर्सिटी बनाते हैं। इट इज मेनली इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय नेचुरल प्रोसेस एंड द लेट बाय इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ ह्यूमंस। विल टॉक अबाउट लेवल्स ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी। इसमें आपसे क्वेश्चन आएगा कि डिस्क्राइब लेवल्स ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी। तीन लेवल्स हैं। जेनेटिक है, स्पीशीज है, और इकोलॉजिकल है। इसका सिंपल सिंपल याद रखना। जेनेटिक बायोडाइवर्सिटी इज इंट्रा स्पेसिफिक डाइवर्सिटी। इंट्रा स्पेसिफिक डाइवर्सिटी का मतलब क्या है कि diversity in the number and types of genes as well as chromosomes present in different species, and also the variation in genes and their alleles in the same species। दिस इज जेनेटिक। इतना लिख देना, फिर एग्जांपल्स लिखना। एग्जांपल्स में लिखना कि वी नो 1,000 varieties of mangoes and 50,000 varieties of rice or wheat in India। दूसरा एग्जांपल लिखना कि अनदर केस ऑफ जेनेटिक डाइवर्सिटी इज द मेडिसिनल प्लांट रोवोल्फिया वोमिटोरिया। इट इज अ मेडिसिनल प्लांट which secretes active component rhizopene, is found in different Himalayan ranges. This plant shows variation in terms of potency and concentration of active chemical. तो इसमें क्या दिखता है डिफरेंसेस और वेरिएशंस दिखता है पोटेंसी और कंसंट्रेशन में. Genetic diversity or variability is essential for a healthy breeding population. Second is species biodiversity. Species biodiversity is interspecific. That was intraspecific. This is intraspecific. The number of species of plant and animal that are present in a region. The number of species and of plant and animal that are present in a region constitutes its species diversity. Right? Species diversity. Examples are what the example of species diversity is what amphibian species diversity is more in Western Ghats than in the Eastern Ghats. This is the example. Last is ecological biodiversity. Ecological biodiversity may at the ecological level. It is related to different types of ecosystem or habitats within a given geographical area. Ecosystem diversity is very high in India while it is quite low in Norway. In India, we can find great diversity of ecosystems such as desert, rainforest, deciduous forest, estuaries, wetlands, grasslands, etc. The Western Ghats shows great ecosystem diversity while regions like Ladakh and Rann of Kutch do not show variance like we observe in Western Ghats. The diversity of life at all three levels of is now rapidly being modified by modern man. Now we'll talk about patterns of biodiversity, which we see latitudinal gradient and attitudinal gradient and species area relationship. यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन आता है. So we'll talk about latitudinal gradient. Right, latitudinal gradient में is what is. तो latitudinal gradient में आप इतना लिख देना कि species richness or diversity for plant and animal decreases as we move from equator to poles. Species richness or diversity for plants and animals decreases as we move from equator to poles. ये लिख देना. For example लिखना. For example में it is maximum in tropical rainforest. Example Amazon forest where you will find 40,000 plants, 1,300 birds, 427 mammals and 3,000 species. ये एक डेटा लिख देना. इसका डेटा प्रॉपरली मैंने लैटिट्यूडनल ग्रेडियंट का क्वेश्चन आया ना तो प्रिपेयर इट फ्रॉम नोट्स. जो मैंने आपको नोट्स लिखवाया है ना बायोडाइवर्सिटी का उसको आप वहां से प्रिपेयर कर लेना. प्रिपेयर फ्रॉम नोट्स द आंसर फॉर लैटिट्यूडनल ग्रेडियंट. राइट. नेक्स्ट विल टॉक अबाउट एल्टीट्यूडनल तो है नहीं नीट में. स्पीशीज एरिया रिलेशनशिप विल टॉक अबाउट. This species area relationship was given by Alexander von Humboldt. Species area relationship was given by scientists who have tried to establish relationships between species diversity and the size of the habitat. It is considered that number of species present is directly proportional to the area. It is understood that larger areas may have resources that can be disturbed among the inhabitant species. German naturalist Alexander von Humboldt observed that species richness does increase with the increase in area, but up to a limit. Observe the graph. The graph for the species area relationship is this, right? For many species, this curve is rectangular hyperbola. If we consider S to be species density, A to be area, C as the y-intercept and Z as the slope of the line, this relationship can be described by the equation log S बराबर log C plus Z log A. On a logarithmic scale, this relationship is a straight line as observed in the figure. So this is the equation for S is equal to log S equals to log C plus Z log A, and this is the equation for S बराबर C A raised to Z. As for smaller areas, the values of Z lies in the range of 0.1 to 0.2. But for large areas like the entire continent, But for the larger areas like entire continent, slopes are closer. खुश रहो. खुश रहो.
In realtà la Canada è elettrica. Backup.
But for the larger areas like, sorry, we'll continue again. So this Z values for the larger areas like entire continent slopes, you'll see that these are very steeper. Steeper slopes means you'll find longer low slopes. The slopes would be like this. So the value would be more. Value would be what it would be. vertical closer to vertical axis. This observation indicates that in very large areas, number of species found increases faster than the area explored. Importance of species diversity to the ecosystem. Now we have done with the pattern and we have done with the number of species. Importance of species diversity in the ecosystem. So importance is what a community is said to be stable. If they'll ask you, tell me the importance of biodiversity in the ecosystem. So it is said to be stable if the average biomass production remains fairly constant over a period of time. That means from year to year you will find the same production. It should be strong enough to withstand disturbances and recover quickly. That means it should be resistant to occasional disturbances like floods, forest fires, etc. It also must be resilient to invasion of species. Now, David Tillman and Paul Ehrlich gave two things. David Tillman did outdoor plot experiment, carried out various field experiments, and proved that species richness does help the stability of an ecological community. Rich diversity leads to lesser variation in production of biomass over a period of time. This is known as productivity stability hypothesis. Paul Ehrlich, an ecologist from Stanford, gave an analogy to explain significance of diversity. This is called Rivet Popper hypothesis. He compared aeroplane to ecosystem and species as rivets that keep all the parts of aeroplane together. He compared aeroplane as what ecosystem and species as rivets. Now, of course, there are thousands of rivets needed to hold all the parts of the aeroplane together. If each passenger decides to pop even one rivet, or in other words, if one species gets extinct every time, initially not much of the disturbance or the turbulence will be experienced, but slowly as number of popped rivets will increase, there will be serious threat to the safety of aeroplane. Also, which rivets are removed till will also matter. Suppose rivets at key positions such as the ones that binds with the wings to the body of the aeroplane are removed, situation will become serious. Thus, we can say that relationship between diversity and well-being of ecosystem is not linear. But it is certain that loss of species may not pose threat to ecosystem only initially. Loss of key species. Key species means the species that are very important will certainly cause threat in a very short span of time. So this was all about the David Tillman experiment. You need to explain this. Now next is biodiversity current scenario. Biodiversity current scenario means how many species are found in the world. How many species do really exist on Earth and how many of them are found in India? It is difficult to come to consensus about the exact number of species though that are present on the Earth. Though over 1.5 million species have been documented as per IUCN data. So far, we are yet to study a lot more than this. We are also unaware about speciation process that might have continued most of the studies that have been carried out in temperate region. Tropical rainforest, the major diversity hubs, are yet to be explored completely. The exorbitant numbers like existence of 20 to 50 million varieties have been made. But Robert May has given convincing estimate of about 7 million species around the globe. Pie charts you need to look at, right? So for the pie charts, this is for animals. You'll find most plants. Subs are the animal species you will see, then plant species, then fungi, then protist, and you'll find you bacteria. उनके एस्टिमेट्स में बैक्टीरिया बहुत कम मिले थे. ये कैसे याद रखेंगे आप? एफ बी पे राम, which is fishes, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and mammals. This is the order. नेक्स्ट इज स्पीशीज में आफा एमएफएल ये वाला पूरा फ्लो चार्ट कराया है. रीड दिस फ्रॉम नोट्स. दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट. डू इट फ्रॉम नोट्स में. अच्छा लिखा है मैंने. यहाँ इट इज नॉट गिवन प्रॉपरली. नाउ विल टॉक अबाउट हाउ मेनी स्पीशीज इन द वर्ल्ड. India boasts a handsome share of 8.1% of total biodiversity wealth on the earth. One of the 12 mega biodiversity countries along the globe. India has 2.4% of world's total land area. We have identified about around 45,000 plant species and nearly double the number of animal varieties from natural wealth. If we consider May's estimate of global biodiversity, we have recorded only 22% of Natural wealth. Loss of biodiversity, though the loss of biodiversity leads to overall imbalance in an ecosystem. The chief serious aspects of loss of biodiversity is extinction of species. There are three types of extinction: with natural extinction, mass extinction, or man-made, that is anthropogenic extinction. Damage to biodiversity takes place due to both natural and man-made. ये सब तो है ठीक है. Now this is very important. The current loss of biodiversity is considered to be sixth extinction, which is progressing at an alarming rate, which is estimated to be 100 to 1000 times faster than pre-human times. Human के पहले भी बहुत सारे extinctions हुए हैं, but the in human scenario it is 100 to 1000 times faster. NCRT is saying कि या फिर your textbook is saying कि ecologists blame this the human intervention in natural habitats. They do not forget to warn that if the current trend continues, we might lose 50% of total biodiversity within 100 years. Cause of biodiversity, evil correlate, right? Four major causes. First is habitat loss and fragmentation. इसमें you'll remember कि habitat loss and fragmentation के लिए due to human activities creates threat to migratory birds as well as those women's animals that needs larger territories. Tropical rainforests are being lost at an alarming rate. Tropical rainforest cover has reduced from 14 to 6%. That is Amazon forest. Overexploitation, basic difference between the human beings and other animals is that humans have the tendency to accumulate beyond their needs. एनिमल्स का एक ह्यूमंस का एनिमल से एक फर्क है कि ह्यूमन को बहुत ज्यादा टेंडेंसी होती है कि वो चीजों को एक्यूमुलेट करते हैं, जरूरत से ज्यादा एक्सप्लॉइट करते हैं. दिस हैज रिजल्टेड इन ओवर एक्सप्लॉइटेशन resources. Now dodo bird, Tillard sea cow, and passenger pigeon are few examples of extinction due to overexploitation. Next is alien species invasion. When a new species gets introduced into an ecosystem, accidentally or intentionally, there are chances that if it proves harmful or existing species. In such a case, it is called invasive species. The examples are carrot grass, which is Parthenium lantana, and water hyacinth, which is Ecornia, are proved to be what invasive species. Introduction of predator fish, Nile perch in Lake Victoria proved deleterious for 200 local species of cichlid fish in Lake Victoria. In India, introduction of African catfish, Clarius gariepinus for aquaculture purpose has proved harmful to endemic catfish varieties. हमारी खुद की catfish varieties को problem हुआ. Next is coextinction. Coextinction में many times organisms are associated with each other on obligatory ways. For example, extinction of one variety leads to extinction of associate variety from the ecosystem. Example, extinction of host fish causes extinction of unique parasites. Co-evolved plant and pollinators will also have such a threat. IUCN maintains a red data book, also known as Red List, where conservation status of plant and animal species is recorded. Right? This are what these are how it is started. Not evaluated, data deficient, least concern, nearly threatened, right? Vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, extinct in wild, and extincted. These are the nine categories of the living organisms. इसके अंदर का डेटा नहीं, सिर्फ लिस्ट याद रख लें तो बहुत है. Now we'll talk about conservation of biodiversity, how we can conserve. So for conservation of biodiversity, first we should understand that why should we conserve. Why should we conserve समझाने के लिए हम तीन टाइप्स के लोगों को समझाएंगे. नैरली यूटिलिटेरियन मंद बुद्धि लोग, ब्रॉडली यूटिलिटेरियन पढ़े लिखे लोग, और नेक्स्ट इज एथिकल रीजंस व्हेन वी विल एक्सप्लेन इट टू सेंट्स. नैरली यूटिलिटेरियन जो दिमाग पढ़े लिखे नहीं है उनको कैसे समझाएंगे. सिंस टाइम इमेमोरियल humans are reaping materials benefits from biodiversity. It may be delivering resources for basic needs such as food, clothes, shelter, or industrial products like resins, tannins, perfumes, beds, etc. For aesthetic use, as in ornaments or artifacts, medicinal plants, 25% of global medicinals are market. 25,000 species are put to use by tribal worldwide as traditional medicines. Now, these are the data that we should remember. We should look at bioprospecting. Definition is important. Bioprospecting is systematic search for development of new resources of chemical compounds, genes, microorganisms, macroorganisms, and other valuable products from nature. This you remember bioprospecting. Next is broadly utilitarian reason. If we find out the cost of oxygen cylinder and try to calculate the value of oxygen we breathe, with such ease, we will understand what nature is giving us for free. Amazon forest is estimated to produce 20% of total oxygen on Earth's atmosphere. You must have come across the news about devastating fires in Amazon forest in August 19. Ethical reasons, we have no right to destroy the diversity simply because we share Earth with them. All living beings have equal right to survive irrespective of their known or prospective economic use. How to conserve? We have in situ conservation. Protection of an organism will automatically take place if its natural habitat is protected. That means in situ. Example, announcing Kana Forest as Tiger Reserve. This is called in situ conservation. This is the most appropriate method of conservation. It is nothing but conservation at home. Around 34 biodiversity hotspots have been identified by the conservationists. These are the regions with high species richness. Now, what are biodiversity hotspots? Biodiversity hotspots are the regions. Biodiversity hotspot is very important for board exam. Huh? These are the reasons. Biodiversity hotspots are the regions with high species richness as well as density. These areas needs to be protected strategically by setting legislative measures. Legislative मतलब law लगाना पड़ेगा. Apart from awareness and conservation. In situ conservation also includes introduction of varieties traditionally used into farming and horticulture. For example, in Maharashtra, Pavra tribes in Satpura have protected varieties of corn with different kernels. India has three. India has three world's biodiversity hotspots. That is Western Ghats, Indo-Burma, and Eastern Himalayas. India at present 14 biosphere reserves has 19 national parks. There has 448 wildlife sanctuaries. In Maharashtra, there are about 5 national parks and 11 sanctuaries present. Sacred groves are what in many cultures stretches of forest were set aside and protected in the name of Almighty. भगवान के नाम पे बचाते हैं. These such sacred groves are found in Khasi and Jaintia hills in Meghalaya, Western Ghat region of Maharashtra and Karnataka, Aravali's of Rajasthan and Bastar, and Chanda of Sarguja and Madhya Pradesh. Right? Now, next is ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation. Uh, Sometimes, when a species is critically endangered, special measures have to be undertaken. It might be protected in captivity. उसको बाहर ले जाकर protect करेंगे as one of the measures of protection. This is called ex situ conservation. In this type of conservation, living beings are protected away from the natural habitats and special settings. Wildlife safaris, zoological parks, and botanical gardens serve this purpose. Animals which have decreased in number are allowed to breed in captivity in order to protect them. For example, crocodile bank of Chennai. By now, we have thus understood the immense importance of biodiversity and desire to protect it. ठीक है ये तो जाने दो. Now we'll talk about this environmental issues वाला part. Environmental issues में ना आप कुछ भी मत पढ़ो, सिर्फ इतना याद रखो कि इनके बारे में आप एक एक आंसर बना लो. एयर पोल्यूशन के बारे में, राइट. एयर पोल्यूशन में ये एक डायग्राम याद रखना. दिस इज इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक प्रेसिपिटेटर. इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक प्रेसिपिटेटर पूरा ये पढ़ लेना, ये इंपॉर्टेंट है. दिस इज द इंस्ट्रूमेंट दैट वी यूज टू रिड्यूस एयर पोल्यूशन जो फैक्ट्रीज से होती हैं. तो इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक प्रेसिपिटेटर इट इज मोस्ट वाइडली यूज फॉर रिमूविंग पर्टिकुलेट मैटर. मतलब लाइक सूट एंड डस्ट प्रेजेंट इन द इंडस्ट्रियल एग्जॉस्ट. इंडस्ट्रीज से जो एग्जॉस्ट होते हैं उन एग्जॉस्ट में जो शूट पार्टिकल्स होते हैं और पर्टिकुलेट मैटर होते हैं उनको रिमूव करते हैं. इट कैन रिमूव 99% पर्टिकुलेट मैटर प्रेजेंट इन एग्जॉस्ट फ्रॉम अ थर्मल पावर प्लांट. तो दिस इज इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक प्रेसिपिटेटर. इस प्रेसिपिटेटर में क्या होता है? इन दिस मेथड हाई वोल्टेज इज अप्लाइड. An electric discharge takes place which causes ionization of air in the smokestack. इसमें देखो हाई पॉजिटिव चार्ज इलेक्ट्रोड कलेक्टर प्लेट्स मिले हैं, राइट. उसमें हाई वोल्टेज अप्लाई कर दिया और इलेक्ट्रिक डिस्चार्ज लगा दिया. जिसकी वजह से एयर का आयनाइजेशन हो जाएगा। फ्री इलेक्ट्रॉन्स इन द आयनाइज्ड air gets attached to the exhaust gaseous dust particle moving in the stack। इस गैस पार्टिकल में जो फ्री इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं वो क्या करेंगे, अटैच हो जाएंगे एग्जॉस्ट से और डस्ट पार्टिकल से, जो स्टैक में मूव कर रहे हैं, ये स्टैक है। This negatively charged particles moves towards the positive electrode and settle down there. These particles are removed by vibrations of the electrodes and collected in the reservoir। ये देखो ये कचरा यहाँ निकल गया है ऐसे, और यहाँ से क्लीन गैस स्ट्रीम निकलेगा। यहाँ से नेगेटिवली चार्ज मेटल ग्रिड है, ये नेगेटिवली चार्ज मेटल ग्रिड जाके ऊपर पॉजिटिव इलेक्ट्रोड से बाइंड हो जाएगा, और ये पॉजिटिव इलेक्ट्रोड क्या करेंगे, वाइब्रेशन करेंगे, जिसकी वजह से डस्ट पार्टिकल नीचे सेटल होते जाएंगे। दिस इज हाउ इट वर्क्स। Next is exhaust gas scrubbers are used to clean air for both dust and gases by passing it through dry or wet packing material. It can remove gases like sulfur dioxide. In the scrubber, the exhaust is passed through a spray of water line. Right? Now next is catalytic converter। Catalytic converter भी important है पढ़ना बोर्ड के लिए। मोटर व्हीकल्स जो गाड़ियां होती हैं equipped with catalytic converter। Silencer is catalytic converter। Should use unleaded petrol because कह रहे हैं कि मोटर व्हीकल्स जो है वो ऐसा पेट्रोल यूज करने चाहिए जिसमें लीड ना हो, लेड ना हो। इनएक्टिवेट्स बिकॉज लेड इनएक्टिवेट्स द कैटलिस्ट। कैटालिटिक कन्वर्टर में जो कैटलिस्ट होता है वो लेड क्या करता है, उसको इनएक्टिवेट कर देता है। दिस इज हाउ इट वर्क्स। कैटालिटिक कन्वर्टर काम कैसे करता है, ये तीन स्टेप्स हैं। पहला क्या है, एग्जॉस्ट गैसेस एंटर द रिडक्शन ब्लॉक। इसके अंदर तीन ब्लॉक होते हैं। तो सबसे पहले जो गैस है वो कहाँ जाता है, रिडक्शन ब्लॉक में ऑफ द कैटलिस्ट, राइट, where the oxides of nitrogen, ऑक्साइड्स ऑफ नाइट्रोजन, ये देखो ये कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड है, हाइड्रोकार्बन है। ऑक्साइड्स ऑफ नाइट्रोजन रिएक्ट फॉर्मिंग नाइट्रोजन एंड ऑक्सीजन। तो नाइट्रोजन और ऑक्सीजन बन जाता है। यहाँ पे देखो कैसे ये गैस जो निकला, मतलब वहां से एग्जॉस्ट से हाइड्रोकार्बन निकलते हैं और कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड निकलता है। ये हाइड्रोकार्बन और कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड कहाँ जाता है, रिडक्शन ब्लॉक में। रिडक्शन ब्लॉक में वो किसके साथ रिएक्ट करते हैं, नाइट्रस ऑक्साइड के साथ। और ऑक्साइड के साथ, नाइट्रस ऑक्साइड के साथ रिएक्ट करने के बाद ये बन जाते हैं N2 और O2। The exhaust gases then enter the oxidation block of the catalyst, where hydrocarbons and newly formed oxygen react to form carbon monoxide। कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड बन जाता है। The exhaust that exits the converter is less harmful। अब कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड थोड़ा सा कम हार्मफुल होता है। ये केस स्टडी नहीं पढ़ना है, ये जाने दो, पूरा पार्टी काट दो। इससे रिलेटेड वन लाइनर्स एक बार आप डाइजेस्ट से कर लेना, बाकी इतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, ये भी नहीं पढ़ना। नॉइस पोल्यूशन में आप एक आंसर प्रिपेयर कर लेना, प्रिपेयर इट फ्रॉम डाइजेस्ट। या हर वक्त मत पढ़ते बैठो, एग्जाम से पहले ना एक 10 मिनट देख कर चले जाना। ये भी नहीं पढ़ना, इतना सारा है लेकिन कुछ आएगा नहीं। वाटर पोल्यूशन पे आप लिख ही सकते हो बहुत कुछ। वाटर पोल्यूशन पे मैंने आपको बीओडी एक्सप्लेन किया था। बीओडी इज व्हाट, इट इज द अमाउंट ऑफ डिसॉल्व्ड ऑक्सीजन रिक्वायर्ड बाय माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स, amount of dissolved oxygen required by microorganisms for decomposing the organic matter present in water। It is expressed in milligrams of oxygen per liter of water। High BOD indicates intense level of microbial pollution। You should learn eutrophication। Natural eutrophication is aging of a lake due to nutrient enrichment of water। Natural eutrophication means what? It is aging of a lake due to nutrient enrichment of water, right? How this magnification occurs? तो स्टिंकिंग यूट्रोफिक लेक विद कलर्ड एंड टर्बिड वाटर। मान लो लेक में गंदगी है बहुत ज्यादा, स्टिंकिंग मतलब गंदगी है ना, कलर्ड एंड टर्बिड वाटर है उसमें, काला पानी है, तो उसके अंदर बायोडाइवर्सिटी खत्म हो जाएगी, लॉस ऑफ स्पीशीज बायोडाइवर्सिटी। और जैसे ही एक्वाटिक एनिमल्स मरेंगे फिश के साथ, तो उनके अंदर का कंटेंट, ऑक्सीजन कंटेंट जो है वो कम हो जाएगा, जिसकी वजह से ऑर्गेनिक लोडिंग बढ़ जाएगा। ऑर्गेनिक लोडिंग क्यों बढ़ेगा, क्योंकि ऑक्सीजन था तो माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स उसको क्या करते थे, यूज कर लेते थे। ऑक्सीजन खत्म हो गया तो माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स उसको यूज नहीं कर पाएंगे। डेथ ऑफ सबमर्ज प्लांट्स ड्यू टू रिड्यूस लाइट। बायोलॉजिकल एनरिचमेंट ऑफ वाटर हो जाएगा, एल्गल ब्लूम होगा, प्लैंक्टोनिक एल्गे एंड हाइयर प्लांट्स दिखेंगे। इसी तरीके से न्यूट्रिएंट एनरिचमेंट हो जाएगा। दिस इज नोन एज बायोलॉजिकल मैग्निफिकेशन और बायोमैग्निफिकेशन। ये जरा पूरा पढ़ लो एक बार। डिपेंडिंग ऑन द साइज ऑफ द लेक, क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशंस एंड अदर फैक्टर्स, नेचुरल एजिंग ऑफ लेक रिक्वायर्स thousands of years. So, aging of lake requires thousands of years. However, due to pollutants from human activities like effluents from agricultural land, industries, and homes, have accelerated this aging process. The phenomena is called cultured or accelerated eutrophication. Observe the flow chart and understand the process of eutrophication. बताया मैंने. This result is non-availability of dissolved oxygen from aquatic organisms. This leads to death of fish and other aquatic organisms. Its decomposition further depletes the dissolved oxygen. So a lake can literally get choked to death. A few substances usually present in the industrial wastewater can undergo biological magnification. The phenomena through which certain pollutants gets accumulated in tissues, increasing concentration along the food chains. Many of the pesticides are non-degradable, so they get accumulated in the tissues of organisms. Now, thermal pollution of water is caused due to rise in temperature of water. ये याद रखना. ठीक है. सीवेज वाटर कम करने का एक तरीका इकोसान इकोसान बोर्ड में आया हुआ है. इकोसान इज एन approach to sanitation provision which safely reuses excreta in agriculture. It reduces the use of or need for chemical fertilizers. EcoSan toilet is a closed system that does not need water. It is an alternative to leach pit toilets in place where water is scarce or where there is risk of groundwater contamination. It is based on the principle of recovery and recycling of nutrients from excreta to create resources for agriculture. मतलब ये क्या करते हैं, एक्सक्रीटा रिकवर करते हैं, एक्सक्रीटा से न्यूट्रिएंट्स रिकवर करता है ताकि एग्रीकल्चर के लिए अवेलेबल रिसोर्स डेवलप कर सके. व्हेन द पिट ऑफ एन इकोसान टॉयलेट्स फिल्स अप, जब इकोसान टॉयलेट का पिट खड्डा भर जाता है तो इट इज क्लोज्ड एंड सील्ड. आफ्टर अबाउट 8 to 9 months द फीसेस आर completely composted to organic manure. There are working ecosan toilets in many areas of Gujarat, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Sri Lanka. पेंसिल डिस्चार्ज हो गया, 2 मिनट रुके. सॉलिड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट में क्या क्वेश्चन आएगा देखते हैं. नहीं, ये सब नहीं आएगा. मिशन प्लास्टिक फ्री. ग्रीन हाउस इफेक्ट एक रीड कर लेना. इट इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर हीटिंग ऑफ अर्थ सरफेस एंड एटमॉस्फेयर. Without greenhouse effect, the average temperature on Earth would have been 18 degrees Celsius rather than an average of 15. Of the solar radiation that reaches Earth, clouds and gases reflect about one fourth and absorb some of it. But half of total incoming radiations reach Earth's surface unheated. Small portion of it is reflected back. Earth's surface re-emits the heat in the form of infrared radiation. Part of these radiations do not escape into the space because atmospheric gases CO2 and H2 CH4 absorbs it. The molecules of these gases radiate heat energy and a major part of it comes back to Earth's surface, thus reheating the Earth's surface. This cycle is repeated many times, hence CO2 and HCH4 are called liquid CO2 or carbon dioxide or methane greenhouse gases we get. Gases responsible for this effect are carbon dioxide, methane gas, CFC, nitrous oxide, and water vapors. Because of burning of fossil fuels in industries by automobiles, burning of agricultural waste, levels of CO2 are increasing. इन सब चीजों की वजह से CO2 का लेवल इंक्रीज हो रहा है. Biogas plant, paddy fields, cattle sheds, and methane to atmosphere. Global warming is increase in atmospheric concentration of greenhouse gases. Increase in atmospheric concentration of greenhouse gases has resulted in the heating of Earth or rise in temperature. During past century, the temperature of the Earth has increased by 0.6 degrees Celsius, most of it during last few decades. This is a global warming वाला condition. ओजोन डिप्लीशन यू रीड, इसको रीड करें एक बार, क्वेश्चन नहीं आएगा ठीक है, एक बार रीड करके रखें. ओजोन लेयर का फटना, डिफॉरेस्टेशन, ये सब नहीं पढ़ना है. मिशन हरित महाराष्ट्र भी. रीड, जस्ट रीड, बस और कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है. राइट, वी हैव डन विद द चैप्टर. मैंने आपको सारे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स बता दिए, आप ये टेक्स्ट बुक थरली ऐसे ही रीड कर लें, बाकी सारे क्वेश्चंस हो जाएंगे आपके. राइट, यू हैव एनी डाउट प्लीज लेट मी नो. ईरम, जताश्री. ओके, एनीबॉडी एल्स, एनी डाउट? मानसी, जैद, रूही. ये हमारा लास्ट टॉपिक है ना स्टार्ट, मतलब बोर्ड सेशन का. और बचा एक भी टॉपिक? नहीं, ये लास्ट था. ठीक है, आप लोग मुझे ना कोई भी डाउट रहे ना तो मेरे को मैसेज भी कर सकते हो. राइट, कोई आंसर प्रिपरेशन में डिफिकल्टी अगर आ रही है तो मुझे बताओ, मैं याद करा सकता हूँ आप लोगों को. ठीक है, कोई चीज़ अगर रहेगी तो विल क्लोज द मीटिंग.